Chaos Emeralds. A set of 7 mythical gemstones that when harnessed can bring your wildest dreams to life. Although most of the time they just allow you to fly and glow a little bit. Oh, whoa, what's happening? I think I'm turning super! Oh, right. I forgot only male hedgehogs can go super. Thanks, Izuka. Jakks Pacific has made a few super figures in their time, with their Supersonic being really good, their Silver being okay, and their Super Shadow being a piss-coloured piece of shit. Now, these aren't the only super figures Jakks has released, as in spring of 2023, they released the Team Sonic Super Pack. I was always interested in this free pack, however it was never made available in the UK, until now. I found a website called gingertoys.com that shipped it to the UK for only £5. So in today's video, I'll be opening and reviewing it for the first time. Also, just before the video starts, my tripod's light did break, so I had to use my phone's flashlight, and that's why it looks a little bit shit. Let's get into it. Okay, so here we have the free pack. Now this is quite an old pack, but as someone who lives in the UK, I've never been able to get my hands on it, so I finally managed to find a seller that sold it for a reasonable price. It cost me £35, including the shipping, and let's just open it up and see what the figures are like. So let me just cut this tape. There we go. And let's open it up. Pull this out, just like this. So there we go. There's the box. Now that it's empty, shows you the 3 figures you get and the current wave at the time. That's very old wave now, wave 12. It's very rare you'll find that in a store anymore, but you know. So let's just take the cardboard off the back of this. You can display them on that, I suppose. I probably won't. You could. Right. So there they are in just the plastic. Oddly enough, one of my Tails' legs are loose, and Knuckles looks like he's broken his legs. But you know, that's probably just how they're packaged. There's Knuckles. There's Tails. There's Sonic. There they are. So they're very shiny, which I think is quite cool. They've got like a glossy paint on, which you don't see with many figures. I think the only other figure I've ever seen that has this kind of paint is this Christmas Shadow 2.5 inch, because he's got glittery, glossy paint, which it's kind of ugly, but you know, I understand it makes it look a little bit more Christmassy, I suppose. So I guess we'll go over these figures one by one. We'll start with the least exciting and make our way to the most exciting. So we'll pop these 2 aside and we'll get Tails. So like most Jakks figures, he has 11 points of articulation, which is his head. It's quite stiff, probably because I've just got him out of the box. Yeah, very stiff, you can kind of hear it. And then his arms, which you can, well, okay, so his head, you can twist it. You can do a 360 with it, not that you'd really want to. But yeah, very, very well articulated. His arm can go about that high. Now, let me turn his head to the side. His arm can go about this high, this low to be neutral, and it can do a full 360. For posability, his wrist is also articulated, which just twists, which is cool, but not that useful for posing. And you've obviously got the legs. Well, his legs backwards. He can kick about that high, which is slightly disappointing. Kicks about that far back. So, you know, not great, not terrible. Pretty standard for a Tails. His knees bend about this much, which is just over 90 degrees, which is quite a good amount, I would say. You've got his shoes, which twist a full 360, separate from the leg. Although most of the time you probably wouldn't twist it much, just because there's not much point. You can pretty much get a pose down without twisting the foot. And then finally, his tails, which are just one solid piece, and they just twist all the way around. You can get a full 360 with it. And the issue with a figure like this is, because of his tails, if you try and stand him like this with his tails up, he just topples over. So you kind of have to twist his legs slightly so that he can kind of balance on them. The issue with this figure and most Tails figures here, I've got the regular version of this figure for comparison. So they are basically the same. Let me just make them both stand upright. Similar pose. Tails down. So they are very, very similar. The only real differences are that one of them has glossy paint and his belly is more of like a tan colour, as you can see there, whereas on the original figure all of his fur is just white. Which they both have their pluses and minuses. If you just want a regular Tails figure, the original will do the job. But you know, I'm a collector, so had to get my hands on Super Tails at some point. His expression is very weak. It's probably his weakest aspect because he's kind of just like mouth slightly agape with wide eyes, but you know, it does the job. So I guess for now we'll just pose him back there like that. And then next up, got Knuckles. I'll pop him down here. There he is, there's Knuckles. Again, not the most exciting figure in the world. He is just, well, the old Knuckles figure with a glossy paint job. And, you know, for what he is, he's not bad. We'll go over his articulation again. Although I will say Knuckles has a lot worse than Tails because of his dreadlocks. That's an issue with all Knuckles figures, but they did get better with the second mould. So technically his head does twist, but you get maybe 10 degrees either way. You can force him over his arms, but I've done that with a Knuckles figure before and it can be really damaging for, well, just for him. So I will just leave him facing forward. Then you've got his arms, which again, very limited by his dreadlocks. So they can go up about this high, they can go down, you know, to a neutral position. And you can rotate it the whole way around because of the way it's posed. But I don't think you're going to get many good poses off of that. The same issues are on the other arm. So yeah, I don't think you're really going to get anything too cool out of this figure in terms of poses. His leg goes up about this high, which is pretty standard. Back about this far, which again is pretty standard. You can bend his knee like that, which is about the same as Tails, just over 90 degrees, which, you know, not bad. It does the job. You don't really need more than that on a figure because, you know, they're posed to stand upright. And then his foot, again, like Tails, it does twist all the way around, but it's quite stiff. So again, you don't really need it, but if you wanted to twist it all the way around, you may have some trouble just because it is very, very stiff. Now let's just pose Knuckles. If he's going on the other side, I guess we can do something like this. Let's just pop him like this. There he is. There's Knuckles. That'll do. He will stay upright. He's really awkward to pose with the old mold. Oh, let's just compare him. Let's have a little comparison to. I don't have original Knuckles, so Neon Knuckles will have to do. Same mold, different paint job. You kind of get the idea. The only real difference I've noticed between these two, other than obviously the paint, if we're talking strictly mold, on the side, You can see here, his snout goes all the way in, but on this one, there's a little gap between, here I'll get it nice and close, a little gap between his muzzle and his dreadlocks, and now that's not really a big issue for me, but I do wonder if it's an issue with all of them or just a quality control issue on mine. If there's anyone else who owns this free pack, please do let me know in the comments, because it's very unlucky if mine just happens to be broken, and that's just not how it's meant to look. So yeah, do let me know. And let's just pop him here so we can review the final figure of the pack, and in my opinion, the most exciting of the pack, Supersonic. Now, again, if we put him down to his simplest components, he is just a repaint of a Supersonic figure, but he's a lot more exciting for me because he actually looks like a super form and doesn't just look slightly shiny. So we'll go over the articulation as we have with the others. Again, his head, you can do a full 360 with it. Not that you'd really want to like pose him like this because it would look stupid and he can't really stand. So yeah, you can do a full 360. Realistically, you're only going to need to twist it about this much either side, so that works perfectly fine. His arms are of course articulated. They go up about that high. You can get it up to the side of his head, and it goes down to a neutral pose like that, and you can do full 360s, which is good. It means you can, if you wanted, you can pose him like this, which looks really stupid, but you could pose it like that if you wanted. Same with Knuckles, I didn't even mention. Yes, the wrist does swivel, just like any other figure. His leg goes up about this high, goes back about this high. If you put him here, his knee bends about the same as Tails and Knuckles because it's just the standard for a Jakks figure. And yes, his foot does swivel the whole way. This one is a lot more loose, and that may be because I accidentally popped his feet off while I was getting them out of the packaging. You could, if you really wanted to make them less stiff, you could always soak them in hot water or use a hairdryer on them to loosen the joint, and then you'd be fine from there. Now, I will just compare him to the regular Supersonic figure because I do have that. I actually have two of them. I don't know why, but I have two of them. So let's just default pose him, pop him down. He's quite top heavy, this figure, unfortunately. So you've got to kind of lean him forward slightly. Let's bring out the other Supersonic. Just get him in a similar pose, lean him forward slightly. Now this one's quite old. His joints are very loose, unfortunately, because this was bought second hand, so he has been played with. Which I don't have an issue with, of course. They are toys, they are designed to be played with. But it does make posing them slightly annoying sometimes because his legs just don't really hold him properly. So there they are. You can see they are very similar. Just one obviously has the glossy paint, which in my opinion does look a lot nicer than just the plastic, because the plastic look is kind of boring and it doesn't really give off the effect of the super very well. I believe the new movie-free Supersonic figure has a similar paint job, which I will make sure to check once I can actually get my hands on him. And there they are, there's the free pack. I think they're really cool. They're not the greatest figures ever released. They are fundamentally just free repaints of a few figures, but I do think they are better than the originals in some way. Tails is probably my least favourite. I'm not a huge fan of the cream coloured chest, but overall they're pretty cool. They do the job for figures that are meant to be super, and I would love to see Jakks make more of these, potentially like a Burning Blaze, if they ever decide to make her as a regular figure in the first place. But some more super packs would be cool, like they could do the Jazzwares free pack, where you have Supersonic, Shadow and Silver, and have them all be glossy like this. Now yeah, one of them would be a re-release, just a re-release of this Supersonic, but I think people would appreciate that, and I think they are missing some very big potential here to make a lot of money off of selling more free packs. But that's just my opinion. I'm not a marketing guy. I don't know what I'm talking about. But yeah, pretty cool. I feel like my statement of pretty cool was a bit underwhelming for these figures. I know that when I was reacting to them live, I couldn't go over them properly, but now that I've spent time with them after the fact, I would argue they're a lot cooler than I first thought. I'm a big fan of these figures, and I really do want Jakks to take more advantage of super forms being a thing, even if Sonic Team says that only male hedgehogs can go super. And it's not like they haven't bent the rules before. They released an Easter Knuckles figure which was just Knuckles but pink, but if you change his shoes over, he's essentially just Hyper Knuckles. But anyway, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like and a comment on this video. It really helps boost me in the algorithm, as well as subscribing to the channel with the notification bell on if you want to be informed the next time I upload. I have some very exciting videos coming soon. And with all that being said, peace.